to kick this off, maybe each of you can, quickly introduce yourselves before we dive into the actual topic at hand today. So, Samir, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, Paul, Vivek, Bimal. A quick introduction. My name is Samir Vora. I am the CMO at Dailyhunt. 20 years of work X-Star, X-Financial Services.
Excellent. Maybe Paul, you can go next.
Hi, good to be here with everyone. My name is Paul, coming from Singapore, so slightly different time zone. I'm the co-founder of Lomotif, a company that is obviously in the vertical video space, and it was born and bred here in Singapore.
Okay, Bimal.
Hey guys, all of here again. And I'm CEO of Trell. With Trell, we are building India's largest lifestyle video app, where we're trying to organize lifestyle information for Indian users in their own languages. And we are present in 8 languages, and trying to make sure that we have our app available on every Indian mobile phone as we grow.
Excellent. A quick introduction from my side. My name is Vivek. I run MX as the Chief Operating Officer. We have 4 business lines. The one that's of interest today is the short video. We own an app called MX Takatak. But other than that, we also have a OTT app called MX Player. And we have around 100 hyper casual games. And we run a streaming music business along with Ghana. Of course, the topic at hand today is short video. So we'll try and touch different aspects of it. And after hearing all of your introductions, clearly we have a very diverse panel. I know yesterday Paul was telling me he's also been a filmmaker. The app is present in multiple emerging as well as developed markets. And of course, both Samir and Bimal have deep understanding of Indian short video space. So really looking forward to this discussion. To kick this off, maybe we can just get high-level thoughts on monetization. And I know that Samir and Bimal have different approaches towards monetizing short videos. So would love to hear, where you are in your journey and what you're targeting, and is monetization even important to you, etc. Either one, anyone can go. Samir, Bimal, and then of course we'll ask Paul. Paul is addressing a large global creator ecosystem, so those numbers are really large. So we'll leave that for the last.
Go. You started.
So it's kind of a very natural progression, because we've always been under this influencers in languages have been introducing products or services on the platform, the content. So for us, it became a natural plug-in play. So allowing the end users to purchase those products or services that video. So for us, we hit the critical mass very early in the model. Reason of our focus mainly. I think today, as we speak, there are more than 400 brands that are tools today are incentivizing or getting monetized on the platform with their ability. Product and service, very open system that built. And as I talked about, it's a very natural progression. So for us, it was not about being too early or too late. It was just that we understood that this is the right time that we're going to launch monetization on the platform.
Excellent. I think before you jump in, Samir, Bimal, I think your voice was breaking, voice and video. I don't know if only I'm feeling that, or is everyone?
No, that was the case.
That was the case. Bimal, I think
is it fine now? Is it fine now?
Yeah,
with the video?
Now with the video off, it's fine. I think maybe the high-level takeaway for that from your message, since you were going in and out, was that monetization is here and now and real for you, and you're monetizing through commerce, and you found the right balance to motivate influencers to drive commerce on your platform. Samir, now maybe you can Go ahead.
So, guys, for us, actually, it's a three-pronged piece in the sense that we've started with branded content, and I think that's really taken off. A lot of organic interest. Just recently finished some work for the Kerala government, Flipkart, couple of phone brands. So I think that's something that's started off the block very quickly for us. I think it'll land into ads and ad tech. I think that's getting parallelly built, and I think we are ready to go to market with that also. But I'm sure eventually it'll kind of all merge and dive into commerce, because we will have the audience, we will have the brands, and we'll have to play the role of the intermediary in between, where we will get the brands to the audiences. So in that sense, all the three will come together. But we see this as a more organic progression from branded content to ads, eventually to commerce.
Okay.
So we are not very known in India, so I might want to give you a bit of a context. If bear with me for 30 seconds to give you a sense. Obviously, monetization is very important, and our perspective is to the creators to enable this ecosystem of creators to really sustain their passion of creation, and to echo Samir's point, we approach it from 3 prongs as well: direct to users, direct to brands with an ad tech ecosystem, and also social commerce. To introduce this, I will want to give you a real quick, I promise I'll do it one time, and then to set the context of what Lomotif is. It's not an advertising or investor chat, but what we are planning to do, and we are already in the process, is to set the stage of an urban dictionary for videos. And what this means is that for every word in any language, we will give a video equivalent that is personalized to the creator. So for example, if I was to search for running, I might have footage that's already running. And here is a friend of mine. This is actually a user gen, a UGC that might be running. But here are also PUGC. So it's a remix of premium UGC content. And here's where the monetization comes in, direct to brands. So say Nike would want to buy the search word running. We are launching it soon. It's not there yet. But here are premium UGC, like whether it's B-rolls from the actual brands or fan-based videos. Here users can pick brands and can very quickly add all this into I'll skip music because it's not going to really show up. Here you can see very quickly a user can put their own video with brand videos. They can format it to whichever medium they want to share, whether it's on Lomotif or other platforms. And we give them a very quick remix. You can just shake the phone and the clips just reorganize. You can change the duration. And all this is all patented in America. And we are going to expand our patent portfolio on that. So back to this. How we are doing this is we are letting brands get direct to users via their placement on our product. So they can buy it a bit like Google AdWords. So that's a little quick snapshot on how we look at monetization as well.
Wow, this is very interesting, actually, very innovative, and a new approach towards doing branded content in a more direct or programmatic way.
Very seamless.
Yeah, good stuff. And maybe you can tell us a little more about your company, like in which markets are you seeing more traction? How large do you think the opportunity is? And anything else that you want to share, trends and maybe other emerging markets like Brazil?
Right. So for us, the largest market is Brazil, and we have been growing organically. And so saying that is, but what we do is we learn from all the geographies that we grow into. A bit of quick context: Singapore is about 5.8 million people. So if we didn't think global from day one, every Singaporean would have to download our app 30 times to get to our current download numbers. So we were really propelled to think globally. So as a result, we do learn these global trends. In Singapore, we don't have a very deep history, so we always adopt a very culture learning process. So we see, as mentioned, in our little huddle earlier, we see music obviously is one of the glue amongst different cultures. For example, I'll use hip hop music. We started growing in North America. They have hip hop. We grew in Brazil. Brazil has a Braille funk, which is a version of hip hop. So there's there's a cultural component packed with music, and I believe that for a consumer product to grow organically, like what the space that we are in, we really need to understand the culture. So we do have plans to also expand in India, and this is a very good initial step to learn from all of you. What is the culture in India, right? Like, how do we support the ecosystem? So that's on one, and we talked about Samir, we talked about commerce, right? You know, there's Flipkart in India, but there's also Mercado Libre, for example, in Brazil, or Shopee. That is also available in all these other cultures. I think China, we also know that social commerce, video commerce is popular. So those trends, we do observe that they succeed. But for us, when we are in Brazil, we adopt a partnership approach because payments, for example, is very different from various markets. In Brazil, to buy, I'm not Brazilian, so I take it with a pinch of salt. But for Brazilians to even buy groceries, they can pay in installments. So to support an ecosystem like that, we have to adopt, what is already working in those geographies. Yeah.
Excellent, very insightful. And I would like to echo that obviously music is very important in our short video apps. I think it forms a key part of the user experience. In fact, all the hashtag challenges, trends, they're often created out of audio samples first. The creativity starts in audio and then eventually culminates in the video. In fact, I was just thinking that all the names of all these global apps, Musically, Douyin, TikTok, they all have oral references. Like everyone has given a lot of importance to audio in short video apps. Maybe we'll touch upon a few other things. I think I wanted to touch upon the format and specifically the length of videos that you feel will get more traction in the coming years. So would love to hear perspective from all three of you. And do you think the TikTok approach of less than 1 minute is what we should focus on in short video, or should we try some other innovative formats?
So for us, if I were to go first, I think the less than 1 minute piece is working. Also, any consumer work that we've done lately tells us that more than 2/3 of the audiences are not wanting to tilt the phone, so they are very comfortable with the vertical format. And it tells us that look, the format is here to stay. I mean, the phone in that position is here to stay. And I think when and when multiplied by the length, which is between 0 to 60 seconds, I think it's working. I think there is enough body of work to tell us that vertical video is giving us better completion rates, better views, higher engagement, in general better memorability. I mean, so much so in India, people have attempted to push the envelope by doing vertical web series as well, and there are formative examples of that. I wouldn't say that's the best content, but credit where it is due that the envelope is being starting to push in those ways. So from a format point of view, I think vertical is here to stay, and from a length point of view, I think current data indicates that less than 1 minute, is working for us at least.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think for us, that we all are comfortable in a 2 to 5 minute space. It's more information packed, condensed into a short video. So entertainment, once it's condensed into a short video and verticalized, typically a 15-second would suffice to communicate to an end user for the entire concept or the theme of that particular video. But for a lifestyle video that is specifically across categories such as personal care or a home decor or beauty or a fashion, typically a creator ends up creating a video more than 1 minute 30 seconds. So we allow users to upload content up till 5 minutes, right? Because we are trying to condense information into a short video. So for us, it's always been that 2 to 5 minute space. We do videos that are typically sub 60 seconds, but most of our videos that attract higher engagement on the platform or consumption, and more than that, the followership, right? The type of influencers on a platform are the ones who are generally creating the 1 minute, 30 second and above videos because of the sole reason of the category that we operate in.
Our perspective, I echo the panelists. I think everyone veers towards short video because we all had a big laugh when everyone has ADHD, and I don't think it's just the Gen Zs or the teens. We all are getting to the camp where we are flooded with so much information. We get to pick what we want to digest, and I see short video from the perspective of when we showed you earlier our company's approach to clips. We call them atomic clips. A Lomotif is made up of multiple clips. And each clip is like a scene. When you think about Vine in the early days, Vine is like 6 seconds where they loop and it's complete, right? So our perspective is when we talk to people, the more interesting someone is, the longer we will let them ramble on. We will learn very quickly in like maybe a first sentence, do I want to listen to the next 2 sentences? So I see the same in a short video. The length is, so when we look at video, we look at in terms of words. A Lomotif can be five words, and maybe that's all the average length. But if a video is very interesting, someone can actually talk for a paragraph, and it will still be interesting. Let's say 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But we look at it from the point of how many pieces of atomic clips can you piece together and maintain interest with who you are engaging with. So I would say at the end, to sum it up, I think the length is dynamic, but dependent on how long you can engage your audience for as a creator.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And even for us in MX Takatak, we are generally focusing on less than 1 minute, and you're spot on that, the first 6 or 10 seconds is sort of make or break, and every atomic chunk is very important to keep the audience interest. We'll take one question from the audience. I think audience is interested to know general demographics of our user base, age, gender, maybe location. So maybe if any of you could share, what kind of traffic are you guys getting on your platforms?
Bimal, you want to go?
Yeah, for us, in terms of demographics, so we are a platform, typically the first cohort, the primary cohort is 18 to 24, who are both the creators and consumers. And then you have the 24 to 28 segment. In terms of distribution, 30% coverage in tier 1 and plus in terms of demographic distribution. In terms of obviously male to female, we have a 55% female, 55% male ratio. Even the creator, we are heavily skewed toward female creators. More than 70% of the creators are female, and 30% creators are male on the platform. So are the most of the brands that are present on the platform are for female, and then you have brands for male. So kind of a distribution that fits graphics, somewhat evenly distributed towards tier 1, tier 2.
For us, across the creator and the consumer, I'll split that. So I think that's a bit different for us. On the consumer ecosystem, in the sense people who are consuming the app and not creating, it's predominantly, a larger age number, which is 18 to 30 odd. So we've seen that across. Creator is more sharp between 18 to 25 odd. Okay, not to say that there are not older creators, but we are seeing that the bulk is bunched between 18 and 24. In terms of the geographic split, I think we are seeing a reasonably even in the heartland presence and across the south. And honestly, I think the jury is out on how much of language will eventually matter in a 15-second conversation. So I think that's something that will play itself out over the next, let's say 6 to 12 months. There are examples of content which is not even in Indian languages, which is let's say Chinese or Japanese, but yet continues to show tremendous traction on the platform. So somewhere that it aids if it is in the same language, but it's quite okay if it's not also. So demographically, 18 to 24 with a long tail, creators sharper to 18 to 24. Geographically, I think pan India with a little bit of a Hindi skew.
So I will lead on with what Samir just said. Actually, interestingly enough, I believe that the interesting thing about video is that it transcends language in a way. Back to the caveman drawings, you draw your pictures, and if Mr. Bean, he's on every airport because he doesn't need to use language. So I agree that we also do see that language is not one of the prerequisites for the spread. As mentioned, music is, but increasingly video as well. We see our demographic very similar to what the panelists have been saying, between also 17 to 24. Initially, when we first launched, we had about 92% female. It was for a while actually, and now it's about 75% female, the split. And we see geographically, North and South America makes up over 50% of our user base. We have LATAM, and we're all across all these geographies that I'm sharing about. It's largely tier 3, tier 4, which is, I think, in India equivalent to tier 2, tier 3. And we also have presence in Europe. So, but I think one interesting nugget that we learned is that as we grow in this manner, because we don't incentivize creators to create content, they create because they want to. And as a result, it's really a lot of bedroom scenes, like stuff that's on your camera roll. And it tends to attract the tier 3 and tier 4 cities across these geographies.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we are also seeing a similar trend across, the MX group. I think we have around 300 million users, out of which two-thirds are from India. 65% or so are in India. Outside India, I think we have most of our it's spread, but a lot in Southeast Asia, a lot in Middle East, and some in Europe. But in India, we are seeing, in line with the general internet trend in India. For us, 80% is male, majority is younger. Exactly like how Samir was saying, in the younger demographic. And surprisingly for us, we always thought that we have deeper penetration in tier 2, tier 3 when we started, but actually 50% traffic comes from tier 1 and 50% comes from tier 2 and 3. Though the most premium user. Yep. Moving to the next question. Wanted to know your thoughts about content. Do you guys think that professionally generated expensive content is necessary for short video apps, or is it all about having the UGC model? Samir, you want to go first, and then we can ask.
We lost you for a moment.
Oh, my bad. I'll repeat the question. So the question was about content. Do you think that generated, with high production value, expensive content is necessary for short video apps, or do you think it's about cracking the UGC, user-generated content model?
I think the initial, sampling will happen on the back of good-looking content. I think that will be required for this market, because there are a plethora of choices right now available, and the consumer is still sitting on the fence, not fully decided where he wants to commit to. So a fair bit of speed dating is happening on the short video space. So I think professionally generated content, good creators, good UX UI, good camera, these will be all anchor factors as you start looking towards an app. But eventually the app will have to thrive on its own two legs, which is UGC will then have to come on and take it over. But I think a fair balance of both will be required in the 18 to 24 month scenario as the market matures and as the app ecosystem matures. And as we start separating the men from the boys in this space as well.
I think I'll go next. I see it anecdotally a bit from like home video versus movies. And I'll draw a bit of analogy, again, because from Singapore, we have to learn a lot. So when I was in China for a bit, I learned from Douyin, TikTok in China, and Kuaishou. So just very anecdotally, Douyin is a little bit like going to the movies, and Kuaishou is a bit like home video. Both have their appeal and both have their place. And so similarly, like for Lomotif, we are known as more like the Kuaishou of outside of China. And for us, we have never yet approached the premium UGC yet. But I do agree with Samir. At some point, we need to find a balance. And I have no real answers there, but I have some thoughts. So for us, for example, we grew purely UGC. We have worked with some global creators like Alicia Keys, and we are going to start working with two, increasing more of these players. But we tell them that when you engage with our audience, think of it very UGC, because even artists have a UGC life, right? It's kind of how you portray it. So just to kind of sum it up, it's also back to the recommendation. It's how you recommend a home movie. You have to recommend your content to more intimate friends. For movies, you can recommend it to everyone. It should be globally palatable. So that's kind of like how we look at PUGC versus UGC.
Very interesting. Bimal, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think for us, again, being a lifestyle as a category, there are two important levers for the content, right? The first thing is lifestyle is equal to aspirational. The content has to be aspirational in nature. And second, the lifestyle content also is application first, right? So you have the users who would try to follow that particular recipe or a skincare routine at home, right? After watching the content. So it also apart from presentation, there's a certain element of subject matter expertise that is involved into creating this, getting this content up live on the platform. So what we see is to enable this, right, and to make sure it's always growing in terms of quality information, right? We always see that there has to be a coexistence between PGC and UGC on the platform, at least for a platform like Trell. We call PGC the bar raisers. The objective of PGC content is to help UGC users imagine till what extent they could go to create quality content. What does a quality content mean, right? Because it's not very easy to explain content to someone, right? It's just what you see is what you learn, right? So PGC plays that. PGC content creators, influencers on the platform, they play a role of ensuring that they raise the bar for the UGC creators, and the UGC creators are somewhat emulating them or getting inspired from them. Sometimes, yes, it does. Are scenarios where the UGC content do exceedingly well in terms of engagement and even quality. Now, these are, but this is how we look at PGC versus UGC on the platform.
Actually, if I could riff off that one point a little bit, I think the bar raiser is a very interesting point, and I would want to echo it with the adult coloring book. So now adults, we have coloring books, and everyone think they can color, right? Everyone wants to be a creator. So I think how we're thinking about it as well is like I think there's a delicate balance between a bar being raised so high that no one wants to color because it's just too complex. So I think it's also interesting to find what's the sweet spot as we raise the bar, towards that. So that was just to echo, Bimal, what you were saying.
Yeah, very interesting. I sometimes feel like that. When I see that professional content, I realize I can create. So that's why.
Yeah, it's a complex dance move, right? No one can dance, right? Like, so what are you gonna do? It's gonna wriggle.
Okay, so we'll try to alternate. We'll pick one more question from
You
the
know
audience.
what?
Yeah, go ahead, Bimal.
Just sorry, just to add to that, right? There's this particular challenge for creating this content also. If you look at entertainment and lip sync, most of the time you're aided by the music. So I can create this content, but when it comes to lifestyle content, you are actually in front of the camera and you have to speak to your audience. Whenever that comes into play, it becomes a very difficult skill, and not many can do it in the first go. It requires some amount of investment into creating content over the time. That's why if you see a YouTube ecosystem versus other ecosystem, right, the follow base or the stickiness for a creator is typically high because people understand the personality in depth once they start talking to you in front of the camera. But if you talk about some of the platforms where this oration is not there, or you do not get to hear the creator, the stickiness for that particular creator is very low. Sometimes most of the platform, if you ask, right, if someone asks me who's your favorite YouTuber, I could name my favorite YouTuber, right? Like the top three handles that I subscribe. But if you ask to most of the Indians say that now, TikTok isn't there in India, but when it was at its prime, if you could have asked people like, who are your famous top 3 TikTok you're following? Seldom you get names because people are engaged in just the entertainment. So, it's yeah, depending on the category, right? The stickiness to the creator and the volume of the creator really change, right? And even the levers are completely different.
Fair point. And now talking about categories, I think the audience question is about news category. So they want to know from the panel, in the future, will news eventually completely move to short video format? And how much information can really be, conveyed in this short format? And do we think the future of news is short videos or not? So any of you, any thoughts?
I would like to. This is an interesting subject. We all know the recent, Capitol Hill stuff with Parler and all that, right? I'm assume some knowledge here.
Yeah.
And it really, and there's this, I read anecdotally this site, what they did was they pulled all the footage, they uploaded it time-based and geo and time-stamped. So what happened there was you can actually watch multiple perspectives of a video, a 360 view of what went down without anyone giving any narration. It's just all video uploads. You can watch inside the room, outside. So to the point of like, this is what video does better than text. It's not better or worse. It's just apples to oranges, right? Like I think video as a medium has its advantages. And when I saw the anecdote, I was like, that's actually one of the things that video can do so much better. But text will have its place. It doesn't replace text. I think text has a way of like expounding deeper. But that was a very quick anecdote because it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to look at our situation, I think it's to a certain extent, it's horses for courses. So which means if I just, yesterday night I was switching some of the television channels and I saw one of the premier Hindi news channels do 100 bytes or 100 pieces of information in 100 seconds. Quote unquote. So just kept, bam, news, they read out a line item, gave a couple of seconds of footage, moved to the next one. So it was bite-sized to be, quickly, get me up to speed to everything. So I think that format will stay. But on the other side, there is the newspaper, there is the deeper conversation. Wherever there is deeper engagement required, I think text will stand. And I think there are a couple of very interesting experiments already available in the market where people are doing short video directly in India as well. So I think, the jury is still out with their success or failure, but there are some interesting experiments going on.
Yeah. No, I truly believe that this is the future for news. I think that instead of the entire country watching the same 1 hour news on prime time, it would be so much more exciting if there were a lot of bite-sized videos and a personalized stream could be created for me that I am interested in. It's possible that I was following what was happening in the Capitol and with Trump and everyone, and possible that someone in tier 2 is not interested in that. So I think having bite-sized news and being personalized while delivering it is a very powerful idea, actually.
Bimal, Vivek, there's a challenge to that, and we've done that. So I can tell you the first-hand experience. So that the problem you have with that space is that it will have a confirmation bias, which means if you only like one part, you will continue to get one part. And in politics, that's a dangerous, precedent to set, because then you never are aware of what the other side of the story is. So one of our last year's campaigns and the Indian election was based on something like this, because as an aggregator, we could give you multiple points of view on one particular topic, and that allowed the consumer to make an informed choice about what his or her POV was. So it's a tricky one because we've dealt with it, so I could share that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once personalization happens, it's often believed that you get into your own bubble. What you just see what you believe in or what your friends believe in, and you don't see the entire perspective.
But sorry,
you say.
Yeah. Just adding to the point, I think the future is now because we talk. So I'll break down this conversation into 2 parts, right? One is we're talking about news, and the second is short video. If you talk about news today, right? Short video news is actually happening today. One of the primary source for people to receive hyper-local news information is through WhatsApp. The 1-minute videos that you get on your family groups or your company groups or from your friends. So It's the quickest way. Apart from Twitter, you have WhatsApp, where you can get 1 minute videos in terms of what's happening right next to your neighborhood, on your state, right in tier 2 plus tier 3, tier 4 cities, right? So it's happening as of today. It might not be a platform, but as a communication tool, it's actually doing that today, right? So that's one interesting point. Obviously, there is obviously a discussion about it being verified. These are some of trigger elements that we can go into later. But as a movement, right, as a mass movement, or if you see, the world is split into two parts, right, and it's happening aggressively, right. You could see US, you could see Brazil, you could see India. Everyone has a very polarizing view of every subject, and everyone has an opinion. It's because of this information being dispatched in this short video format on WhatsApp or other very powerful mediums. That's about the news. And second is, if you talk about the short video, again, what I believe is, it's not about the format, the medium. So why short video, right? If today we're talking about 5G, right, already right, tested in US, there are handsets coming available, right? So it's actually removing the entire bandwidth constraints from an individual user, right? And they can consume high quality content with no lag. Now, what it allows is, it gives people the taste of blood, right? So they want maximum gratification in the least amount of time possible, right? Or maximum entertainment in the least amount of time possible, the maximum information in the least amount of time possible. Today, short videos, yes. Now we have a saying that 15-second or less, or a 60-second or a less. But as you forward, I mean, I am pretty sure it's just going to go.
Sure. Yeah, completely agree. We have a little less than 10 minutes, 9 minutes left now. So I'll quickly touch upon one other topic that I had in mind before going to the audience. Just wanted to get your perspective on live. In general, people think about short video as video on demand, but do you think live has specific use cases that we should be aware of, or any trends? Any of you? Maybe Bimal can go first, because to me it appears that maybe commerce is a good example where live can add value.
Life does add value today. I think is one of the big segments already happening in India today. Formats. Every school is doing a live today. Talk about the other categories that have a great future.
Your voice is breaking a lot, Bimal. We can't hear you. I think we have
Audible
lost
now?
Bimal.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, now you are.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, I was just starting saying that live is already happening. EdTech is one of the booming segments in India, where every school has gone to live today. Apart from that, obviously we had this showroom as a format that Bigo Live or other apps have introduced into the country as live as a format. But apart from that, commerce is again a very interesting aspect for live. If we see there are
Hey, Bimal, the voice is gone again.
Yeah, Bimal's go ahead.
Maybe Bimal will come back to you. Meanwhile, Samir or Paul,
sure.
your thoughts?
Paul, you want to go?
So I'll try to make it quick. I think I see it in two spectrums. One of it is live is a very good analog to real behavior, and we can see that through, like, I think we mentioned briefly in our previous chat. In China, we see study groups even happening on live stream. So, and even like boring stuff like eating noodles in Korea, right? So there's this element of an analog for what happens in real life. And then also a case study on like, like commerce, right? So there's it also reflects more traditional methods of whether it's whatever you watch on television that's live is relevant as well. So, and in real life, like auctions, right? Like I think commerce, there's this element of auctioneering that is also has a live element and builds that FOMO. So I see the applications on live with these frameworks. But apart from that, the other interesting portion is that in countries like China, and I believe with not much knowledge, maybe Samir, you can expound on this, like in India, countries that kind of like leapfrogged fundamental technology. Like Singapore, we went through the whole laptop thing. I understand from China, India, you jumped over that into mobile.
Yeah.
And you jumped into mobile, and COVID has forced the world into video first. I think this is a very interesting white space now because you have mobile penetration at all-time high. You have video that is a reflection of real life. And you have all these use cases that are trying to get themselves into this new medium. So that's where I see the excitement around like live.
I mean, broadly agree with Paul on this one. I think live, not right now for us. I think there are simpler use cases for us to solve and get that correct first. But I think long term, there will be a case for this as well. And I think as we touched upon our previous chat as well, live in India still has certain negative, preconceived notions. There has been a fair bit of, quote unquote, hanky panky happening on some of those apps. So, I think they have still not considered legit from a short video space point of view. So I think that's something to be careful about before one ventures into that space and commits to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like quickly summarizing, I think, and what all three of you said, I think we missed part of what Bimal said.
I think if I'm audible, I'll just complete. There's one more segment that's very interesting today, right? Local entrepreneurs in India. If you look at Facebook groups, and I know this seller, a shop called Jaipur Huts, based out of Bangalore, right? What they do is they go live every day at 4 o'clock on the Facebook group, right? And they try to showcase what they have at the store, and you have around 120 to 150 people joining in, and then 15 people end up purchasing sarees, right? It's ethnic wear, right? In our country, from Facebook chat itself, right? So commerce is one interesting aspects too. If we talk about live, basically it's very category specific, as I think, just echoing the points of both Paul and Samir. It is category specific right now in India. Not all categories can enjoy the fruits of life as of today. Second is what we are also have to look at live is, if someone is making live as a format, can it exist as a feature, or can it be an entire product? So right now, as we speak, it can be a feature of a product, right? Where it could be either scheduled, right, programmed, or it could be live, right? And third is category specific, and fourth, again, you have a role of PGC versus UGC, right? You need to also have certain controlled environment. Apart from that, removing that unnecessary, unwanted apps in our country right now. If you talk about other categories, it has to be properly done, right? There's a lot that goes into live when it comes to PGC content, because it's topical in nature. So there will be editorial insights on it. But if it is UGC content, again, there has to be a strong overseeing in terms of there's no misuse of the platform. So if you condense all that together down, right, so it leaves us with only very few options in our country right now, right? Either it could play with commerce and PGC. If it is UGC, it would work very well with celebrities, because entertainment, again, live as a content, you'll see significant drop-offs in our country. In typically, someone's tuning in and a non-celebrity UGC content, the drop-off happens in 5 to 6 seconds. It's very difficult to engage someone over live on the platform, unless, again, it's a tech or showroom in our country. So that's how I look at it, very specific to categories.
Sure. So quickly summarizing, I think since we have the last minute, looks like live can work for edtech, for commerce, for some gifting app like Bigo, which of course have negative stigma in India. I think in the past we've discussed that a lot of voyeuristic content, webcams, etc., which can either be highly entertaining or highly boring. I think those two extremes are what work on live. I think maybe two other points that at least stood out to me were, in general, the ARPU, the dollar per MAU is very high for live, but it's really hard to grow the MAU. And as a platform, I think the challenge is moderation. If everyone's going live in a UGC environment, then moderation becomes extremely important. So I think that's all we have time for. We have completed our 50 minutes. It was wonderful chatting with all of you. Very insightful. Really thankful to have such a diverse panel, and hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime in the near future.
Super good.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
It's great meeting you all.
Guys.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for such an engaging session. We really appreciate your time. With that, we come to the end of the session. Stay tuned for the rest of the sessions. Goodbye. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.